Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I am Megan, as always, and today we're going to be talking about tracking your macros. So, should you track your macros, and how do you track your macros? So, when I say this, I mean tracking your proteins, your carbs, your fats, and also your calories. Now, this isn't necessary for everyone, however, I do encourage my clients to do this. It is something that we use as a tool to make sure we can kind of stay on that path towards our goals. I often tell people to view it as their bank accounts. Okay, so if you are wanting to save up for something, or if you're just wanting to monitor your finances, which, let's be honest, most of us do, we track it. We log into our bank, we see how much money is coming in, how much money is going out, and if we're in a deficit for the month, then we maybe go into a bit of a saving mode. Okay, and calories and macros are the exact same thing. Now you may be thinking, oh goodness, like I did this before and it sucked, I hated it. It was too restrictive, I became too obsessed with it, and it was way too time consuming. Or maybe you've even seen one of your friends or family members do it, and you see the negative impact it had on them. And it can be all of these things, but if you've ever felt this way, or you know someone that's felt this way, they've likely done it wrong. Tracking calories and macros actually has an opposite effect. So it's freeing. It totally frees you up to consume the foods that you want while being in your quote unquote your budget. You can work towards your goals and enjoy the foods that you enjoy having. It allows for flexibility, it's not restriction. So I love to have my clients adopt a flexible dieting approach, where I've done a previous episode on this before, so make sure you check that out. And apologies for those dog barks. But yeah, make sure you check that episode out on flexible dieting. But what this essentially is you have access to all foods. So no food is off limits. Now, of course, there are foods out there that are going to help you progress towards your goals, and there's going to be foods out there that hinder your progress. So I'm not going to dive too much into flexible dieting today. We are going to talk about tracking, but make sure you do check that one out because it will make this episode seem a little bit more simpler. So it is flexibility. So being able to track allows you to have the foods you want. It's not restrictive, and it allows you to fit the foods that you enjoy having into your diet, into your lifestyle. I also encourage people to have a good perspective when they are tracking, okay? So like I said, approach it like a budget. It's not restraint. It's not, I can only consume 2,000 calories per day. It's like, okay, I have 2,000 calories to work with. This is what my coach has given me. This is what's going to get me to my goals. How can I fit this in while still having a good balanced diet, things I enjoy? Even writing down a list of the foods you enjoy that also will help you towards your goals and kind of piece together meals there. Another tool I'm telling my clients to do is put it into ChatGPT. ChatGPT is a wonderful thing these days, and you can put in virtually anything that's going to spit something out that you can work with. And you can just adjust from there. It does not need to be a strict diet of chicken, broccoli, and rice 6 times a day. I am never going to tell anyone to do that. However, if that's something you enjoy and it fits your lifestyle, then absolutely do it. I don't do it, and I would never do that in a million years. I don't have the time for it. And although I do love chicken, broccoli, and rice, I don't want that for every single meal. So making sure it fits with your lifestyle, and you should never feel restricted. If you start to feel restricted, then something's wrong. You are in a diet, and we don't want to be like that. We want to make sure that this is a lifestyle and it can be easy to adhere to, and that's what leads to success. The next thing is being time consuming. So when people say this, it kind of doesn't rub me the wrong way. I'm not really going to get angry, but I tell them like, well, anything new that you learn takes time. Think back to when you learned something new at school, or if you're learning a new language, or even a new app. When you download a new app on your phone, that takes you a while. When I set up this podcast, it took me a long time to figure out how to even record it. And then I got a new microphone, and then that was a whole other thing. But it's worth it. There's no quick fix, and especially when we're dealing with the human body, it's going to take time, okay? So just learning a new software, learning a new habit, it takes time. And tracking your macros or tracking your calories is no different. It does become a habit over time. I've been tracking for a number of years now, and it is like second nature to me. It also becomes a lot easier when I'm eating a lot of the same foods, and I can just log it in, and it takes me a couple of minutes out of my day. Technology has come a long, long way over the last couple of years, decades, and tracking has never been easier. So I'm going to rule this one out as an excuse. You cannot use time consuming as an excuse, because it's not. And I know it sounds a little harsh, but there's so many tools out there to make it simple. I would say the biggest thing, you just got to learn the software, where the buttons are. That's kind of the main challenge. But if you're not ready to kind of give yourself time to learn this, then it's going to be a long process, because there's a lot you have to learn when it comes to reaching your goals. If you're on a weight loss journey or muscle building journey, or you're going to the stage, it's going to take a little bit of mental effort. I hate to say it, but it's going to be worth it. Invest in yourself, it's priceless. So make sure you know that it's going to take some mental energy before you start doing it. Don't just download the app and track a couple of things like, oh, screw this is way too time consuming. Like, sit down, learn the app, and give it a week, and you're going to be golden. It does not take long, I promise you. Like I said, just like anything, it takes time. Think back to when you downloaded your first online banking app. That took you a couple of weeks to figure out. And even when they do updates, it's like, oh crap, now you log in, you're trying to figure out how you can deposit money. And it takes a bit of time, but you do it. So it's the same thing when it comes to tracking your macros. If you're really serious about your goals, you've got to understand that you can't just show up and let the work just doesn't happen itself. You've got to kind of do something. And tracking, it's a good tool that you may have to put some effort into. So enough of my rant there. The next thing is that you are not under contract when it comes to tracking. So tracking is not a tool that you need to use for the rest of your life for you to keep the weight off. It's a tool that you can use periodically. You can take breaks at time. I do that all the time. If I have a day where I'm totally out of routine and I'm traveling and tracking is going to be kind of pointless, honestly, I just be mindful. I be mindful of what I eat, and because I've got a lot of knowledge in what protein, carbs and fats are, I kind of know what foods to choose. And that's another thing. If you're serious about your goals, learn what these things are. So you can take a break anytime, whether it's vacations, a wedding, all that good stuff. It does not need to be something you do every single day. And as soon as you stop it, it's like, oh goodness, like my goals are to pot. Okay, just because you're tracking doesn't mean you're reaching your goals either. Okay, you got to track the right way. What I mean by this is, if you're tracking and saying you're having salads and egg whites and chicken, but in reality you're having Big Macs and you're not logging the Big Mac, then the tracking is just out the window. Okay, that's like telling someone you've got $1 million in your bank and you look in and you've only got 20. So the data is only as accurate as you make it. Okay, so if you're not tracking accurately, if you're kind of lying a little bit, which does often happen, then it's kind of becomes irrelevant. Okay, so you want accurate data as much as possible, but also it's not the be all end all. Okay, you don't need to do it to reach your goals. It's just a really, really good tool that I do and a lot of my clients will do. I approach a lot of people and they are sometimes skeptical when it comes to tracking. And if they are, or if you are someone that is a little bit skeptical and you're not sure about it, even just start by loosely tracking. So just looking at your protein intake. So you don't need to be weighing out foods. If you have an app where you can take a photo and AI does it for you, then even better. And that'll give you a good idea just to see where your protein targets are and kind of use this as a starting point. Another thing I do with clients is that those who do have, busy lives and they don't track and they're always out for lunches and dinners with clients, is just use it as a check-in process. So I'll get them to check in or track for a weekday and a weekend, and it gives me a snapshot of, what they're eating. And typically people are under eating in protein, and I'll say, okay, your protein intake is pretty low. Let's try to increase that. This depends on how serious you are towards your goals. Okay, so for someone who is in contest prep, I strongly suggest, I don't even suggest, you should be tracking your food. For the average person who just wants to lose weight, do you need to track diligently in every single thing you put in your mouth? No. Loosely tracking will do the job. Okay, so there's different forms of it, different levels, I could say. You don't need to track every single piece of spinach. But making sure you are tracking the bulk of what you're putting in your mouth will help you towards your goals and also help you make adjustments, learn what's kind of going on in your body, and go from there. So how do you start to track your food? Where do you start? So the first thing you should do is download an app. The most common one out there is MyFitnessPal. It is free. There is a paid version, which I don't have. I have used the free version in the past. This is what I started with. And it's good. It does the job. I do Macro Factor, which I absolutely prefer. It is a paid subscription. I think I paid like $80 for the year, but it is so worth it. They have this cool AI feature, which I've just mentioned, where you can take a photo of your food and AI calculates everything for you. Obviously, there is room for error, but it does the job. And some of you may be thinking like, what the heck, I don't want to pay for an app. And that's fine. MyFitnessPal, like I said, it's free. I love MacroFactor. It's a clean app. I can scan barcodes. Like I said, I can use the AI version. I can input recipes, and I love the data that it spits out. I'm very much a data person, so it goes into my brain very, very nicely. So, and I also view it as investing in yourself is priceless. There's nothing like it. Where your treasures lie, your heart will lie also. So if you invest in fast food or luxury items, that's where your focus is going to be. If you invest in yourself, if you invest in a gym membership, a tracking app, and good healthy foods, then guess where your priorities are going to be. Okay, and this goes, out with yourself as well. If you invest in other people, if you invest in giving back, then that's where your heart's going to be. And this is something I'm learning right now. I'm on my own kind of journey as it is, and I can tell you right now that investing in yourself and giving back are priceless. Investing in yourself and others will pay off. Unfortunately, a new handbag will give you temporary and false happiness, but working on yourself and inspiring others is priceless and fulfilling, and that's where it all is. So where your treasures lie, your heart will lie also. Okay, so you've downloaded the app, you've inputted all your information, and now what do you do? Start logging your foods. Get the reps in, get the practice in, and just start logging. Don't worry if it's not totally accurate, and if you are on the free version of MyFitnessPal and you can't scan barcodes, just get as close as you can to the products that you're eating, okay? When you can, weigh your foods. If you don't have a food scale, again, maybe invest in one. They'll be like $5 from Walmart. That's what I got mine. I don't even think it was $5. So it's worth it. If you don't have that, if you've got measuring cups, use that. If you don't have any of them, then just eyeball it. Use what the serving size says and kind of adjust from there. When you can, cook your own food. So if you're eating out all the time, then obviously there is room for error because the chefs, they're not measuring, exactly 200 grams of rice out or, 1 teaspoon of butter or oil, I should say. They're just putting in anything and everything to make that food taste good so you come back. Which leads into my next point, which is the tastier the food is, the more oil and butter is used. So that's a good rule for when you are eating out. But when you can, make sure you're cooking your own foods. Like I said, it helps with the accuracy. Another good tool I use when I am eating out is I will pre-log. So for example, me and my husband went out for dinner last weekend and I looked up the menu beforehand. I knew what I was going to have and I logged that morning. And then I kind of put in what I was going to have before that dinner. So I knew I was having at dinner and I just worked my way back. Pre-logging is a great tool when you're traveling or if you have events and if you know what you're going to have. If you don't know what you're going to have, then pre-log the foods that you're going to have that day and allow for a budget again for that night. If you're wanting to enjoy, a steak dinner and a glass of wine and a bit of dessert, then give yourself a bulk of calories for that. And then leading up to that, have protein, have tons of fibre, so fruits and veggies, and save your carbs and your fats for later that day. That's a strategy I've used or spoken about in the past. Protein fasting. It is a game changer. All of these things I talk about are all skill acquisitions, okay? So being able to do this and apply this is something just like in the gym, you're going to flex this over time. You'll get better and better at it over time, the more reps you get into it. Don't view special events or being out of routine as a hindrance. View it as an opportunity to learn a new skill. I've fallen into that trap before if if I had an event on or if I was going out, I would stress about it. I'm like, oh no, I won't be able to track accurately. I'm out of my routine. And in reality, that is rigid. That's the wrong way to go about it. And it's something I've done a lot. And sometimes I still find myself in that. Like even this past Christmas, I was kind of in a good groove with my deficit and I was losing weight. And I'm like, now all of a sudden I'm in Scotland and I'm traveling. And I could find myself, I'm like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be out of routine. But I reminded myself, I'm like, this is a good opportunity for me to not be in control. Does your tracking control you or do you control it? And I've been there where it controls me. And that's where people go wrong and view it as obsessive and restrictive. So pre-log it, okay? And once it's in, just forget about it. Don't keep going back and forth and be like, okay, was it 105 grams of rice or 102? Just log it and just let it be, okay? At the end of the day, what you put into your body is what matters. Whether or not it's logged accurately doesn't really matter, okay? So, but when you are eating out, like I said, allow for oils and butters as well. The tastier it is, the more the oil and butter they're using. If you are having a meal out and you're not exactly sure how to log it, if there's lots of ingredients in it, then two options. You can use the AI feature Macro Factor and take a photo and it will process it for you. Or you can break down ingredients. For example, I had Chipotle a couple of weeks ago. For those of you that don't know, Chipotle is just like a Mexican bowl, rice, veggies, all that good stuff. And I just logged every single ingredient. And it was all, when it got served to me, it was in a big bowl. I could not, for the life of me, guess if that was, 100 grams of rice or not. So I just roughly put in terms of cups, roughly what I thought. Okay, so like a cup of veggies, maybe half a cup of rice, half a cup of black beans, and since I got double protein, I put a cup and a half of protein. Okay, so, and kind of just break down the ingredients from there. Was it accurate? No. But was it as accurate as I could be? Yes. And I just accounted for it. And I went about my day and it was friggin' amazing. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge Chipotle fan. So if you're in the States, definitely recommend going. It's one of the best places you can go when you're traveling. Anyway, moving on. Okay, so once you've been logging for a while, maybe a week or so, and you're kind of getting your numbers and you're kind of getting used to the process, you're building that habit of tracking your food, where do you go from there? First things first, find your starting numbers. Now, what does this look like? So most of these apps will spit out a starting number for you in terms of calories and proteins based on what you put in. So if you say that you want to lose weight and you are highly active and you're a female that is 5'3" and 150 pounds or whatever it is, they're going to spit you out a number. Okay. Do I advise to go with this number? No, just leave it. Just track your food for a week, ignore the numbers, see what it spits out. From there, you're going to set your own protein goal. You're going to have 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight or target body weight. So if you weigh 150 pounds and you want to get down to 130 and you're consuming 50 grams of protein, then your goal is to get 130 grams of protein. Now you're going to think, what the heck? How do I get from 50 grams to 130? Be patient, learn the process, and just get better and better every single week. Even change your targets, like, okay, I'm just going to change it to 60 right now, and I'm going to try to get 60 grams of protein, average, per week. Once you get that, increase to 70, and just do it from there, okay? Don't expect it to come overnight or in a week. Just like your bank account, okay? Most of us don't make our money overnight or within a week. It's years and years and years of working, of saving, of investing, and however else you get your finances. Okay, but for some reason with the human body, we want to cheat our goals. So make sure that you are just working towards that protein goal. I say this because typically that's the macronutrient that people under-eating. So start with that. Once you get your protein up to a good point, so that's close to 1 gram per pound of body weight or target body weight, then maybe start looking at your fats. So making sure that your fats are about 30% of your calories, and let the carbs fall wherever for the time being. And once you've got these numbers in place, see what happens to your weight. Okay, so if you find that you are maintaining weight with the proteins, fats, and carbs that you're eating, then adjust this to suit your goals. So drop it by, 150 calories. See what happens. Make sure your protein stays high, your fats stay relatively, about 30%. These are essential. And take it from carbs. Okay? Do that for a week or two, see what happens, okay, be patient with it, and then just keep adjusting from there. If you find that you're losing too much weight, increase, okay? You want to aim for 0.5 pound to 1 pound per week. I want you to note that your macros will always be changing, okay? It's going to change depending on your goals, what you've got going on in your life, your starting point, your previous training history, even your new journey in your training, whether you're new to the gym or if you're pretty advanced, your progress, your adherence. There's so many different factors that go into this. Having someone in your corner can help. So coaching you through it. It is not this is my macros that for the rest of my life, this is the calories. I am someone who eats 2,000 calories for the rest of my life. No. Your body is always changing. Your metabolism is always changing. And you've got to adjust for that. One of the biggest mistakes I see, and this is something I've done, is we start out with tracking our macros, or typically people go for the calories. They pick a number and they go with that. So They log into MyFitnessPal. MyFitnessPal spits out 1,300 calories for this person that wants to lose weight. They eat 1,300 calories a day. Most of that is coming from carbs and minimal protein, and maybe they're not even strength training. And they lose the weight. They feel like crap. They lose the muscle, and they continue to operate in that deficit. So when they're consuming about 1,300 calories, they are in a deficit. So they are losing body mass. Okay, and I say body mass, not total body fat, because they're probably losing body muscle in the same way, but they're operating in a deficit. Now, they reach their goal weight, and they think that they have to continue eating this way to maintain this weight. This is not your maintenance. So if you get down to 130 pounds and you're still eating 1,300 calories, you're probably still going to lose weight. Or it's going to get stuck, because our metabolisms are very smart, and it's going to adjust to operate at 1,300 calories, okay? So you're still hungry, you have minimal energy, but you're eating that 1,300 calories, but the scale is not budging. You may even to decide to drop it down to a couple of hundred calories, which is the worst thing you can do. Like I said, our metabolisms are so smart, and people underestimate the power of metabolism. They really do. But maybe I could do an episode on that at a later date. But our bodies will match our output. So it will learn to survive off 1,300 calories. You want to fluctuate between a deficit, maintenance, or surplus depending on your phase, okay? If you are someone that's been chronically dieting all your life, chances are your metabolism is pretty suppressed. I would work with you to get it up. I'd actually tell you to eat a little bit more, which I know sounds shocking. It's something I've seen a lot with, and I've dealt with a lot of clients like this, and it's amazing when their weight actually starts dropping again once we increase the calories and start focusing on their protein intake. Maintenance is if you are in a good spot, you want to maintain your body weight, you find your maintenance. So if you have someone that's lost weight, you need to find a new maintenance. So just like getting in a deficit, you make small increments. Okay, so rather than decreasing your calories, you're going to slowly increase your calories. And same with a surplus. Surplus is when you are gaining weight. Again, you want this to be a slow rate. Too quick, and you will put on body fat. Okay, so there's a lot that goes into tracking. There's a lot that goes into playing around with the numbers. But this episode, I wanted just to give it to you to find your starting point, okay? And hopefully convince you and teach you that tracking it's not a contract, and it's not a jail cell. It's a tool, and it allows us freedom. Like I said, it's something that I use, and it frees me up. Because I know I can have a piece of chocolate, and it's not going to F up my goals. Okay, so I'm going to end the episode there. I hope you guys enjoyed this. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to make a comment, and I will get back to you. You can reach out to me on Instagram as well, which I've linked below. And any questions you have for future episodes, feel free to reach out. Like I said, this is designed to educate you, as well as me, selfishly. But I enjoy doing these. I enjoy giving out free content, free knowledge that you guys can apply to your own fitness journey. If you don't already know, I am an in-person trainer and online fitness coach. Okay, I work with all different types of clients with their own goals. So whatever you're struggling with, whatever you are battling, wherever you want to get to, I can help you get there. So please reach out, and like I said, if you have any questions, just give me a message on Instagram or comment below. I will see you guys in the next episode. Have a great week, and talk to you soon.